Church in Gaston, and you are listening to episode 68 of the Menorah podcast. It is hard to believe that we have already made these many episodes, and if you are listening and you have never heard about the Menorah podcast, the purpose of the Menorah podcast is to share the light, speak the light, and send the light of Jesus Christ all across the airwaves of the internet. And if you hear background noise in today's episode, particularly for me, it is because I am here at the Southern Baptist Convention in Dallas, Texas. At the recording of this podcast, it is actually Monday, June the 9th. My time is about 3:15 in the afternoon when we're recording this. Alan's time, what time is it for you, Alan?
Yeah, we're about 4:15 over here.
Okay, so we're about an hour behind, and I've got me a little table here. Got some free books that I've been given, some shirts and some things. Hannah has already gone back to the hotel, but I am here at the exhibit hall. I will tell you guys one thing about the convention. I'm sure Alan will get to this and some of the questions he's going to ask, is that this thing makes you really, really tired. This is work. There's a lot of work that goes into this, a lot of preparation beforehand, making sure that we're up to date with the issues and things that are going to be voted on. I hate to say issues. I'd rather say the situations that are going on in our convention, and then, of course, representing our church accordingly. But, Alan, yesterday and today, we are having the pastors' conference. The actual business does not start until tomorrow. But one of our favorite parts of the convention is the exhibit hall, which is all the noise that you hear in the background right now. And I wanted you guys to hear that. There's over 15,000 people that are already here. So we're probably going to have an additional 5,000 come in tomorrow for the business portion. And then most people leave out on Wednesday. We're going to fly out Thursday morning. That's kind of a quick little spill. I've already got a lot of resources. And Alan, I have already got you some T-shirts, believe it or not.
Oh, well, T-shirts are always good.
Yeah, there was a booth that was trying to get rid of some double X's and 3X's. And I said, hey, my best friend wears a double X. Let me grab that real quick. So I got you some, Al.
Yeah, I'm going to keep you heading in that direction. Maybe by your 20th year here, you'll be in a 2X.
Yeah, well, hey, when I came, I was a medium, and I'm already in XL. Yeah, I don't know if that's good on y'all or bad on y'all or what, or my lack of self-discipline, I'm not sure.
Well, it just says we're feeding you well.
Yeah, that, and I got married.
Yeah. Well, tell us about some of the speakers out there that you've heard.
Yeah, for sure. Really interesting. This year, Pastors Conference started yesterday at 6 o'clock. We got in Saturday is when we flew in. We did get to go to church yesterday at Dallas First Baptist, and that's probably going to ring a bell with some of our listeners. Some of the most influential pastors in our convention pastored at Dallas First Baptist, names such as W.A. Criswell, Mac Brunson, George Truitt, and then some others have pastored there. But right now, Robert Jeffers is the pastor there, so heard a great sermon from him. He was starting a brand new sermon series on spiritual warfare from Ephesians 6. So he was actually, Alan, he was doing an overview sermon of spiritual warfare, and then next week they're going to step into the 6 items of spiritual warfare that we're supposed to put on. So it was actually encouraging to see a pastor of that much influence at that large of a church doing an overview sermon. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who does them. So that was pretty neat.
Well, good. It sounds like you got a chance to kind of participate rather than always serving.
Exactly. Yeah. We got to be fed and met up with some friends that we have that pastor as well. And so got to do that. And then last night we started the pastors conference. I didn't know some of the names of the preachers. I will say this year is really unique. The president of the pastors conference this year is actually a South Carolina Baptist, DJ Horton. He is the pastor at Anderson Church at the Mill in Spartanburg, a very large mega church. So he's the president this year. And so this morning it was really cool. I got to hear Josh Powell, who is one of our speakers for our revival this year. That's actually going to be on August the 28th at 7 p.m. That's going to be on Thursday of our revival. Josh Powell will be preaching. And he actually preached this morning. And he's the pastor at Taylor's First Baptist up there in the upstate. But, yeah, it was really neat to hear him preach. He preached from 2 Timothy chapter 2. But just to hear somebody preach that's going to be preaching at our church, preach on the national stage, was quite interesting.
Yep. And so now that you've kind of let that cat out of the bag, you might want to remind the people of our fall revival coming up.
Yeah,
And
I did let the cat out of the bag, didn't
yeah,
I?
and kind
Yeah.
of let them know what's going on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so to kind of back up for a second, last year was so awesome. You guys know how awesome it was. And I understand last year we were celebrating our 200th anniversary, and that was great. But I think every homecoming can be awesome. And so I'm not saying we're going to do this every year, but I'm also not saying that we're not going to, because we might. I don't know. But this year, the Lord has led me to have another revival and do it at the same time we did last year. So the Wednesday night before homecoming, the Thursday night before homecoming, and the Friday night before homecoming, we're going to have guest preachers. And so West Church, pastor at First Baptist Columbia, is going to be preaching on that Wednesday before homecoming. Josh Powell, who I just mentioned, will be preaching on Thursday. And then Marshall Blaylock, pastor at First Baptist Charleston, will be preaching on Friday night. And I'm not exactly sure who's going to be preaching Sunday morning. It might be me. It might be somebody else. The Lord hadn't led me in that direction yet. But that is the plan for our revival. We just sent that graphic out last week on social media, but I haven't had a chance to tell you face to face. So I guess I just told you digitally, but that's our plan.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Sounds like another exciting time. It was a great time last year, and we did have a pretty good turnout for that. So, looking
Yes.
forward to doing all that again. Also, looking forward to hearing a little more about the convention and how
Yeah.
things are going out there.
Yeah, I will tell you, as we've been talking, about 8 people that are dressed. I'm assuming they actually are, not just dressed as, but 8 people who probably identify as Native Americans just walked past me in their Native American gear. And that is they have a booth here because there are Native Americans on reservations who have planted Southern Baptist churches. And so that is a great reminder that when we as a church, I'm looking at a sign right now that says CP. When we as a church give to the cooperative program, we are giving to church plants just like that one, who are planting churches in places you and I will probably never get to go. And that particular booth, I believe they're in South Dakota. They're in a reservation in South Dakota. So that's pretty cool that in Gaston, South Carolina, when our church currently gives $24,000 a year, the cooperative program, that when we do that, we are giving to Native American tribes. We're giving to church planters in New York and all across the world, including our missionaries who are currently serving in Southeast Asia. So that's a great reminder of our convention that as we get into the business side tomorrow and Wednesday, there are so many things that folks like to concentrate on that can divide us. And sure, there's a time and place to talk business, and I'm all for that. It's one of the reasons I come, so that we, as First Baptist guests, have a voice. But at the same time, my favorite part of what we do as a convention is the fact that we're all on the same team and that we believe the gospel and that we want to see the gospel go to the very ends of the earth. That's why we're here, and that's why I'm here. I think we need to remember that the world is watching and that we need to get more excited about our cooperative efforts than we do about what divides us.
I think that's actually very good advice for general,
Oh, yeah.
everything in general, because it's easy to pick the 30 seconds out of a whole day that things go bad for us.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's what tends to get the attention. But I would like to remind our listeners and our members in particular here that in addition to the money that you mentioned going to the cooperative program, um, we still give to three major offerings, which again is over and
Correct.
above that
Yep.
amount. That
Yep.
helps with other things as well.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. You're so right about that.
even though we can't go places and we can't spread the gospel physically, we are participating in that by giving our money to our church, which in turns gives it to the programs the convention have for reaching folk.
Well, and I would remind our listeners too. I did a graphic earlier this year that you might remember of our percentage of our budget. a percentage of what goes to every area, and 11.1% of our budget goes to missions. That does not include, that 11.1% does not include the three offerings you just mentioned, Lottie, Annie, and Janie. So as a church, we actually give more than 11.1% towards missions. And I would encourage our listeners that our goal every year is to give more to missions, to go up every year. One of the preachers this morning said something so interesting. He said, I've never considered a tithe as giving. I've considered it as not stealing. And he was referencing Malachi 3:6, which I've preached that text at First Baptist before, but that text reminds us, why would a man rob God? I believe the King James says, why would a man robbeth God? And I've never heard, I've always thought, a tithe is giving, and it is giving, but I think he makes a strong point that it's also not stealing.
Right.
Because to not give a tithe is to steal from God what is God's. And I would remind our listeners of that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that, as believers, we do recognize that everything we have, the Bible tells us
Absolutely.
that all good and perfect gifts cometh from the Father above. And so what we do have, we would not have without Him. And so a
Exactly.
lot of times people kind of tend to forget that. And I do, it is not all about the money.
Yeah.
Good works go on without money. But that is the one thing that a lot of people can do. That's the one
Yep.
thing everybody can do is to ensure that we have the finances to send forth folks into these areas, these underserved areas.
Well, and it's one of the things in Scripture that God is clear about. The tithe is very clear. So, anyway, but going back to the convention a little bit, what questions do you have for me?
Well, I'm kind of interested in kind of how things go out there. Tell me where you guys are.
Yeah, so we're in downtown Dallas, and so some of our listeners know my Nani and JoJo, my grandparents on my mom's side. That's what I call them. Nani and JoJo lived in Fort Worth in the 70s when they went to Southwestern. Mom and Dad lived in Fort Worth from 97 to 99. No, wait, 96 to 99. I was born in 99. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, correct me if I had that wrong. But anyway, so they all lived out here. And so I've come out here many times on vacation, on trips. My granddad took me out here the first time several years ago. But the majority of the time, I've only been in Fort Worth. And so this time we've been in downtown Dallas. So I want you to think, if you've never been to downtown Dallas, I want you to think of a city like New York or Chicago, but 10 times hotter. That's what I want you to think.
Ah,
Because it is, when I say hot, I'm not talking South Carolina humidity. I'm talking it is dry, dry, dry. And I've got about 50 books that I've been given, and I've got about 4 backpacks, and my back is about to break. And it's our hotel's about half a mile away. So we're staying at a hotel called the Statler, and they do have not a trolley, but they do have a shuttle system. But still, it's pretty hot. But yeah, that's where we are. We're right now in the Dallas Convention Center in downtown Dallas.
okay. I imagine it takes a lot of logistics to pull something like that off. We've all
Oh man,
been to various different uh, events and things at convention centers and coliseums and things of that nature, and just the logistics of getting. It's one thing to get the vendors in and out, but
yeah, yeah,
though they have to be in place ahead of time. They have to be set
yeah.
so when you guys get there, um, they are ready for you guys. Tell us about some of the vendors that are there and some of the services or some of the things that they offer.
Yeah, for sure. So where I'm sitting right now, I am sitting right outside the Lifeway. I don't want to call it a vendor, but yeah, I mean, their exhibit, so to speak. One thing that was really cool that I want to tell you, Alan, is I went into the Lifeway. They have a bookstore. It's a bookstore slash, they have people at different computers. If you have question about Lifeway curriculum, Sunday school stuff, kids stuff, youth stuff, you can ask all that. And they have like these big screens that they can walk you through different stuff. So anyway, one reason I love to come is the discounts that Lifeway offers on commentaries. And I mentioned a few Wednesdays ago that my Joshua commentary got legs and walked off. So I want to replace that one. Usually they're $14.99, but here everything's 40% off in the library. And obviously, I buy all my books out of my own pocket. That comes out of mine. I went to buy the Joshua one, and they had 3 more that they had released in the series that I hadn't gotten yet. And I'm talking about the Christ-centered exposition commentary series that we've referenced on this podcast a few times. And so got that, and then I got a church history book. Imagine that. And so I went to the counter, and they gave me the total. And all of a sudden, I see an arm on my right, over my right shoulder, go out in front of me with a credit card. And for a second, I thought it was Hannah, and then I remembered Hannah is not taller than I am, and Hannah does not have a black arm, right? So I see this black arm come across me, and I feel this chest come up against me, and I'm like, I'm either getting jumped or something's happening. I don't know what's happening here. And so anyway, a man named Michael Pigg, he is the director of African American engagement for the South Carolina Baptist Convention. He offered to pay for my books today on behalf of the South Carolina Baptist Convention.
Oh, that was awesome.
And so I know Michael, and of course Hannah works with him, and I love Michael and his heart for the gospel and what he's doing in our state to bring together African Americans, Hispanics, white, everybody under the umbrella of the gospel. But to have, and I only had 5 or 6 books in my bag, but that was just a simple reminder that God has called me and that God's going to continue to take care of me and equip me. And, just those small little reminders just really put a pep in my step, even with something as small as books.
Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see people enjoy physical books again. We've taken so much for granted, and we've moved so much stuff to electronic means. It's always good to be able to.
Well, and that's something to mention too. Sorry to cut you off, but so many of these exhibits have little barcodes, and they say free download book, free download book, free download book, and that's fine and dandy. But I'm one of those people. I got to have it in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember to go in my email and find all those. That's now a lot of these guys, that's what they do on the plane. And Alan, I'm sure you can guess what I did on the plane. I was sleeping. So anyway, but yeah, man, it's it's really cool, and I'm looking straight ahead at the North American Mission Board. Their exhibit is in front of me. I got a T-shirt there, and they do such a great job. That's something I want us to do moving forward. And something I'm going to work on when I get back is us partnering with a church plant in North America. I think that's something the Lord's led me to do. We'll kind of let the cat out of the bag. I say cat out of the bag. This has only been in the crevices of my mind, so I'm not really releasing anything new. But I have a classmate at Southwestern. His name is Preston Dunn, and he is actually a church planter, Alan, in Colorado. And I know him, and I met him out here. And that's something I'm going to bring back to some of our leadership at the church about us praying about, is not just with prayer, but maybe a small financial amount or something of that nature of helping a church planter in North America. I know we give to CP, and that's great, but I think it'd be awesome to have a partnership like that in North America.
Well, I think it would be good for us, and I think it would also be good for them to know that they have a partner, they have somebody they can rely on.
Oh, yeah. And the cool thing about it is, we would give a little bit of money, but the primary resource that we'd be giving them is prayer, and then sending people out once or twice a year on a mission trip to help them, to provide curriculum, to provide VBS stuff. All of that just be really cool. Because, this. We're all on the same team, and Colorado does not have many Bible-believing churches. They just don't. They're right under, I believe, Utah, which is the Mormon capital of the world.
Yep.
So, it's all kind of stuff like that. But some other booths, of course, Guidestone is here. Hannah and I always meet with them. Southwestern, all the seminaries have booths and stuff, which is really helpful for somebody like me who is thinking about pursuing more education. You get to talk to these people face to face and not just over a phone. So that's cool. North Greenville's here, Charleston Southern's here, all of our Baptist colleges, Anderson, and all of that. So, yeah, the exhibit hall is a great thing. And then, of course, like I said, the exhibit hall is going to be open till Wednesday. Everything stops on Wednesday night. And then some people actually fly out Wednesday night. I will put in a plug. Next year, the Southern Baptist Convention is going to be in Orlando. And so that is the closest it will be to our area for the foreseeable future, probably for the next 8 or 9 years. And so we'll go ahead and put in a plug. If you would possibly be interested in going as a messenger, I haven't talked with Hannah yet, but I assume we're probably going to drive. If anybody's interested in going and experiencing the national convention, let me know. If you are interested in doing that, you would definitely need to check out the state convention in Columbia this November 1st, because I wouldn't want you to literally fall in the deep end. At least start out in the shallow end at the state level, and then we'll let you go on to the national level. But if you'd be interested, let me know. I could talk to you about it and see if it'd be a good fit. This is definitely something that I think more of our church should experience, but at the same time, it does get a little boring. It can get, if you don't keep up with Southern Baptist life and politics, you can feel like you're drowning in information. That is definitely true. And earlier today, we had lunch hosted by North American Mission Board. It's called the NAM Luncheon, and over 7,000 pastors were at that luncheon. And they actually gave us a free duffel bag so I can get all these books home. So, Alan, I might have to get you to send me some money for all the extra baggage I'm going to have to pay.
Hey, let me give you a tip in traveling.
Sure.
Box those things up and ship them UPS.
Yeah.
They'll be cheaper than paying the airline to move them.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. So I'll put most of them in my backpack, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's a little rundown on the convention. Any other questions about
Well,
what's going on here?
Yeah, I think that's about it, Pastor. We appreciate your time. Sounds like y'all are staying pretty busy out there, so we won't tie up
Oh
any
yeah,
more of your time. We appreciate you giving us this little report and
for
all
sure. And
that's going on.
I'd like to give a little heads up on Sunday, if you don't mind. Father's Day is coming up, and just like we did with Mother's Day, we are going to be doing a Father's Day panel, but it is going to be a little abbreviated. And the reason I'm abbreviating the Father's Day panel is we got a lot of similar information given at the Mother's Day panel. And so I don't want to be too redundant. So the Father's Day panel is going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. Hayward Kelly, Steve Kittrell, and Walker Spires are going to be our panel participants. And so we're going to be doing that on Sunday. And then after the panel, we'll have a time of music. And then I am actually going to preach a short message on a great father from John 3:16 and verse 17. I don't think I have preached John 3:16 at our church. And I was sitting in First Baptist Dallas this past Sunday, and the Lord laid on my heart, I want you to tell them that I love them. So I said, okay. So what better way to do that than John 3:16? And so we're going to have like I said, it's going to be a short sermon. Most of you are familiar with John 3:16. But before we pick back up in Ezra the following Sunday and then get into VBS and then get into the rest of the summer and then back to school, I think we need a simple reminder on Father's Day that God is a perfect father and that he loves us. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to Sunday. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. Just can't wait to be back with you. But I'm thankful that you guys support us and are all for us coming out here, representing you, because that's what we're doing. We're your representation here in Texas. So we love doing this every year. We're looking forward to next year, Orlando. By the way, if you're wondering, when we get back on Friday in the Midlands, we are probably going to be asleep for 2 straight days, and then we'll see you Sunday.
Yes.
I don't know if we'll be able to do much on Friday and Saturday, just to be honest.
Yep. I imagine it'll take a while for you to recover.
All right. So, guys, thank you so much. Episode 68 of the Menorah podcast. you have listened. If you haven't already, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the like button. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you're on Buzzsprout, we ask that you do the same. You've listened to the Menorah Podcast. Podcast seeks to share light, speak light, and send the light of Jesus Christ all across the airways of the internet. Thank you so much, and we will see you next Thursday as we resume our series called Line by Line. We have several questions that have been sent in, and we're going to start answering those next week, so we hope you'll tune in. This is Brady Henderson, Alan Ott. Thank you so much for tuning in.